My husband went to prison, and I stayed with him until he betrayed me again. I used to believe love could conquer anything. I believed it when I married Josh, believed it when the world turned against us, and, maybe foolishly, believed it even when he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. People called me naive. Some called me delusional. But to me, staying with him was loyalty. He was my husband, my best friend, the father of my child. I wasn't going to walk away just because life got hard, but I never imagined he would betray me again. Not from behind bars, not after everything I sacrificed. Josh and I met in college. He was all charisma and confidence, the kind of guy who could make you feel like the only person in the room. I fell hard. We got married right after graduation and had our daughter, Lila, 2 years later. Life was messy, chaotic, but full of love. Then came the knock at the door. Federal agents. A raid. My living room turned inside out while I stood frozen, holding my daughter. I didn't even understand what they were saying. Wire fraud, embezzlement, years of lies and deception unraveled in a single evening. I wanted to scream at him, to hate him, and I did. But I also remembered the man who held my hand during childbirth, who made pancakes with Lila every Saturday morning, the man who had been my world. He cried at the trial, said he did it for us, that he wanted a better life for Lila, that it spiraled out of control. He was sentenced to 10 years. People asked why I didn't file for divorce, but they didn't know our history. They didn't know the promises we made. I decided to stay. I became a single mother overnight, but I visited him every month, brought Lila when I could, wrote letters every week, took his calls no matter the hour. Holding down life on the outside was harder than I ever imagined. Bills piled up. My job barely covered daycare. I sold my car. We moved into a small one-bedroom apartment, but I never told him how bad it got. I wanted to be strong for both of us. He'd ask if I was okay, and I'd smile through the pain. We're making it, one day at a time. Lila missed him. She'd draw pictures for him and ask, "When's Daddy coming home?" I'd lie awake some nights, staring at the ceiling, asking myself if this was worth it. But then I'd remember our vows, in sickness and in health. For better or worse, this was worse. But I chose him. Years passed, 4 of them. We made it work. He got a job in the prison library. I took on extra shifts. We talked about the future, how we'd rebuild once he got out, how this would be a chapter we survived. And then something changed. Subtle at first, his letters became shorter, phone calls less frequent. He seemed distracted, impatient. I thought maybe he was depressed. Who wouldn't be in prison? But something in my gut told me it was more than that. It was a Sunday when I found out. I was folding laundry when my phone buzzed with a message request on Instagram from a name I didn't recognize. "Hi, I don't know how to say this, but I thought you should know. I'm pregnant. Josh is the father." I stared at the message for a full minute, thinking it had to be a joke, a scam, some cruel mistake. But attached was a photo, a selfie of a woman, visibly pregnant, holding a letter. His letter, the same handwriting I had come to know intimately. I couldn't breathe. I messaged her back. How do you know Josh? She responded almost immediately. She worked in the prison, part of a vocational program that allowed inmates to work with outside consultants. They met during one of the sessions. He told her he was separated, that I left him when he went inside. My blood turned to ice. I felt humiliated, destroyed. Everything I had held on to, the hope, the loyalty, the love, it had all been a lie. He hadn't just moved on. He had rewritten our story. I drove the 4 hours to the prison the next day without telling him I was coming. I didn't bring Lila. I didn't trust myself not to explode. When he walked into the visitation room, he looked surprised and guilty. I slid the phone across the table, showing him the message and the photo. He didn't deny it. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said, barely above a whisper. I was lonely. She was there. I sat in silence, blinking away tears. You told her we were done, that I abandoned you. He didn't answer. I gave up everything for you, I said. My money, my time, my peace. I raised our daughter alone. I held this family together. And you? He tried to reach across the table, but I pulled my hand back. I'm done, Josh. We're done. I left before the hour was up. That was the last time I saw him. I filed for divorce that same week, changed my number, blocked him on every platform. I told Lila he wouldn't be coming home, but I kept the details vague. Someday, when she's older, I'll tell her the truth, all of it. It took months to feel human again. The betrayal stuck to my skin like tar. I cried every night for a week, then once a week, then not at all. But I started to heal. I joined a support group for partners of incarcerated individuals. I started taking walks with Lila. I smiled genuinely for the first time in years. And the biggest shift? I stopped apologizing for choosing myself. Josh sent a few letters after the divorce, apologizing, begging for a second chance. I didn't read them. I burned them because for once I was putting me and Lila first. What would you have done? Was I wrong to stay with him as long as I did? Would you have given him a second chance? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your opinion in the comments. And thank you for listening to my story. Breaks heart.